get requests for tool reviews all the time, but in the past few months, the most requested tool reviews have been for Ridgid's latest 18-volt power tools that make up the new Ridgid Gen5X 5-tool combo kit that came out earlier this year. If you guys have been following my channel, you already know that I reviewed 3 Gen5X tools such as their 5-inch random orbital sander, their dual mode LED work light, and their cordless job site fan. But the good news is that I finally got my hands on the original Ridgid Gen5X power tools that make up the 5-tool combo kit, including their latest hammer drill featuring 780 inch-pounds of torque, their 3-speed impact driver with 2,000 inch-pounds of torque, their reciprocating saw, their 7 1/4 inch circular saw, and lastly, their LED work light. In this video, I'm not going to go over each and every one of these tools, but instead I'm going to go over each one of these tools individually with its own video. And in this video, we're going to take a look at the LED work light and also the latest Gen5X Reciprocating saw. But first, let's go over the flashlight. Many times flashlights are included in power tool combo kits just so that the manufacturer can have the claim that your combo kit has X amount of tools, such as this 5-piece combo kit. Technically, you are getting 5 tools, but you're really getting 4 power tools and 1 flashlight. And most flashlights that are included in combo kits are pretty underwhelming. You would typically get a cheapo flashlight that isn't very bright, and it probably uses those old school light bulbs. The days of light bulb flashlights are pretty much over, and like all modern flashlights, this light gets the LED treatment. LEDs offer more brightness, and they don't drain your batteries as fast. This light certainly has good brightness, and it projects the beam a good distance. While it does offer good overall brightness, its light output is okay at best. The brightness is fine, but there's a pretty big hotspot in the center. Better quality flashlights offer more even light without noticeable hotspots, but nevertheless, this flashlight would get the job done. As for the features, the head rotates and you can set it to point straight forward or to face upward diagonally. It comes with a belt clip so you can hang it on your belt. All pretty much basic features. It's not the best light on the market or the worst, and nothing to rave about. But if you need a flashlight, this will get the job done. There's a couple of things I would have liked to see on this light, which would have been some sort of hook so you can hang it, and if the rotating head had more of a range of movement so it can move all the way up instead of just diagonal up, and if it can go further down. Now let's take a look at the reciprocating saw. This thing's pretty interesting, and unlike the flashlight, this thing is packed full of features. I've been looking at plenty of cordless reset saws on the market, and I've come up with one conclusion, which was that if you wanted a reciprocating saw with an orbital mode built in, you would have to go with a corded model, as none of the cordless recip saws on the market that I took a look at had this feature built in. But it turns out I was wrong, as this model confirms that cordless recip saws can have the orbital mode built in. And not only that, even the previous X4 model had this same feature. So this isn't a new feature with this model. The orbital mode switches on top of the tool, so you can turn the orbital mode on or off. This model also features a built-in LED light on the head of the tool to help you out in low light, and it stays on for a few seconds even after you let go of the trigger. I don't want to sound like a Debbie Downer, but even though the LED light can be useful, I didn't think it was very effective since the light is mostly noticeable above the blade. Personally, it would have been more useful, in my opinion, if the light was visible below the blade so I can line up the blade with the cut line before I start my cut. And the shoe is interesting because not only can it pivot, but it's also adjustable and without the need of any tools. Just flip open this whip out tab and it unlocks the shoe so you can move it forward or back. When you use a blade, most of the wear will happen near the shoe, but moving the shoe forward allows you to use the unused teeth on your blades so they can last a little bit longer. It doesn't have a brushless motor, and neither do the rest of the tools included in this combo kit, but it does have some guts. A while back I reviewed the 2nd generation Milwaukee M18 brush sawzall, and it had excellent performance for a brushed 18-volt reciprocating saw. And I compared this model side by side with the M18, and using the same blade, it can make quicker cuts in 2x4 lumber, making it a bit faster than the M18 model. The performance was very close in 2x4 lumber cuts, although a tad bit quicker on the Ridgid saw with both modes, whether the orbital mode was on or not. And what came out as strange is that the orbital mode is supposed to be more aggressive and faster cutting when compared to the inline cutting action. But on this recip saw, it actually cut 2x4 lumber faster with the orbital mode turned off. And things were a lot different when it came to cutting down a 4x4 post. I also compared it to the Milwaukee M18, and the Milwaukee is faster at cutting a 4x4 post when it comes to the inline cutting action. But when you turn the orbital mode on the Ridgid, it does make for a slightly faster cut than the Milwaukee. This is a bit weird that the orbital mode is slower when cutting 2x4s, but makes for a faster cut when cutting thicker lumber such as 4x4 post, when it should be faster in all wood cutting applications. Next, I moved on to cutting a large metal pipe with a metal cutting blade installed. When cutting metal, it's best to turn off the orbital mode if you have it, as the inline cutting action is better suited for metal cutting. Here we can see that the Ridgid starts cuts much easier and faster, but in the end the M18 cuts faster even with the slow start. Either way, the Ridgid's metal cutting performance was still great. Now let's move on to its runtime performance to see how much it can cut with the included 4.0 battery. I ran the runtime test first before I ran any other performance test, and I assumed that it would cut faster on the orbital mode with 2x4 lumber. So that's what I ran it with. And with the orbital mode set to on, I was able to make 89.5 cuts into 2x4 lumber before the included 4.0 battery called it quits. I thought this was very good performance, but I'm wondering if it would have got more cuts if the orbital mode was set to off. And as for the vibration, Ridgid did a pretty good job at keeping the vibration manageable on this model. It's certainly a lot less than the DeWalt 20 volt and the Harbor Freight Chicago Electric 18 volt models that I tried out earlier. The vibration is about very similar to the M18, probably a bit less on the M18, but more or less the same. And another thing to note is that you'll feel a lot more vibration on this model when you're using the orbital setting, which is to be expected since it's a more aggressive cut. So overall, I give the Ridgid Gen5X cordless reciprocating saw a big 2 thumbs up. It's got lots of power, and surprisingly it came out on top when compared to the brushed M18 Sawzall when it came to cutting wood. Its metal cutting performance is also very good, although not as fast as the M18, but overall it's a very good reciprocating saw. I also liked its nice feature set, such as the LED light, the adjustable and pivoting shoe, and most importantly, it's got the orbital mode setting, which seems to be non-existent on most cordless models. So thanks for stopping by and checking out the review for the Ridgid Gen5X Reciprocating Saw and LED flashlight. Coming up next are the reviews for the rest of the 5-piece combo kit, including the 7 1/4 inch circular saw, hammer drill, and 3-speed impact driver. So stay tuned, and don't forget to like this video, subscribe if you're a big fan of tools, follow me on social media over at Facebook, Twitter, Google+, and over at the web at toolcraze.net for more tool reviews and tool news. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.